Good morning from Eastern Canada, and I wanted to say that we're very pleased to be able to provide these programs for our members globally as part of Prabhupada's order to constantly hear about Krishna from the pure devotee. And this is the key of our philosophy. It is the actual essence of it, which is Guru Tattva, the truth from a bona fide spiritual master. And I wanted to read a section that I posted on the Prabhupada Disciples Association, which has now reached 13,200 members. And every month it's increasing. So soon we'll have 50,000 members of our Facebook group we started a year ago. And we're constantly sending out messages to our group. And we're getting over 1 million views a year. So we're not that big in terms of the internet, but we're getting some traction into the internet world. And we want to thank everyone for spreading our message to other people, because it is critical for people to have this understanding if they hope, Vijaya Pandit, to make any advancement in spiritual life. Any adulteration of this philosophy is simply a deviation from Prabhupada's instructions. And so Prabhupada mentions here, I'm going to read this to you. Prabhupada, every day you have to read my books. Is there any misunderstanding here? What is being said? Do you have any question, anyone? Prabhupada is stating this. Every day you have to. Have to means specifically an instruction from him. The transparent via media from Krishna. Actually, Prabhupada said in a lecture, everything that the Acharya says, the bona fide Acharya, is actually scripture. Actually, the spoken word of God, because he is the transparent via media, Vijaya Pandit, of the Supreme Lord. This is the access we need in order to transcend the material world. There is no other way. There's no compromise. None. So Prabhupada says here, let's see if I can get back to this post. Do you know that every day I read my own books, Prabhupada says? Do you know that every day even I read my own books? I read my books every day because I learn something new when I read them. I know Joe Felice here in Hamilton, he comments to me constantly that every time he reads the books every day, he gets a fresh new meaning from them, a fresh new understanding. It's dynamic. The literature is not static like the newspaper, which is garbage. You read it and then you throw it away. Do you know why I learn? Because these books are not my books, Prabhupada says. I do not write these books. I do not write these books. Every morning when I sit here to write my books, Krishna comes personally and dictates to me what to write. I simply take dictation from Krishna and I write these books. Therefore, when I read them, even I learn something. So Prabhupada sees himself as the agent, the representative of Krishna. And this is a very important point, everyone, because people that take the role of Diksha Guru, it is a heavy, heavy responsibility, because you're worshipped on the platform of the Supreme Lord. You never claim to be the Supreme Lord, but you're given that respect. And when people become contaminated by profit, adoration, and distinction through this worship, this destroys them and the people that follow them, because they are not Uttama-adhikari. Not. This is evidenced by the history of the ISKCON movement that Prabhupada so gloriously started back in 1966. That there were so many people that came, Americans in the beginning, who wanted to become celebrities, spiritual celebrities. That's everybody's aspiration, to be a celebrity at some level, especially in the material world. But this is not some kind of mundane celebrity business, guru business. It's a very important service to humanity, and our purpose here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association is to make sure that everyone here understands we're representing Prabhupada in our classes and discussions and readings in his unadulterated, unedited books. And we encourage everyone to attend these classes and also invite their friends. Some people may not like what we're saying. That's okay. Then you can go listen to Radhanath. You can go listen to Jayapataka. You can listen to Gopal. Go ahead. Or you can make something up for yourself and run around and be your own leader of the pack. That's your business. We don't impose it, but we request that those that are sincere and serious about going back to Godhead join us as we read forward in these wonderful pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in his journey from America in this book here, the Jaladutta Diary. Thank you, Prabhu. And today we've got, go back there. Yeah, there we are. So these are prayers to the lotus feet of Krishna by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda on board the ship Jaladutta, September 13th, 1965. Krishna Taba Punya Habe Bhai E Punya Kori Be Jabe Radharani Kushe Hoibe Dhruva Ati Bholo Tomatai. Translation: I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. I'm going to move forward with the translation here. Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, who's very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is the great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. Translation to the third verse. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, in all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. Text 4. Let's see what time we've got some time here. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, A flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Translation. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I'm not worthy or fit to do it. I'm very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I'm begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all. Translation. If you bestow your power by serving the spiritual master, one attains the absolute truth. One's life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes happy and you get your association due to good fortune. Very profound here, everyone. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant, Narada Muni, kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? Prahlad Maharaj to Nrsingadev, Bhagavatam 7:9-28. Translation. O Lord Krishna, you are my eternal companion. Forgetting you, I have suffered the kicks of Maya, birth after birth. If today the chance to meet you occurs again, then I will surely be able to rejoin you. Translation. O dear friend, in your company, I will experience great joy once again. In the early morning, I will wander about the cowherd pastures and fields, running and frolicking in the many forests of Braja. I will roll on the ground in spiritual ecstasy. Oh, when will that day be mine? So Prabhupada here, this will be the final verse for this morning. Today, the remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way because I have a great longing. I called to you. I am your servant, and therefore I desire your association so much. O Lord Krishna, except for you, there is no other means of success. So please study these verses, understand the mood of the pure devotee, and march forward on the path back home, back to God, by hearing and chanting and remembering the Supreme Lord through the mercy of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Jagat Guru. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Here's Prabhupada in New York City, chanting in 1972. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Prabhupada Disciples Association अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय, नामाचार्य विशील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तविंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, सौभीत भक्तविंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam, Narayanam namaskrityam, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, tato jayam mudirayet, tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gītā, after offering respectful obeisances, 1 to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2 to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3 to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4 to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do with every week, we read a few Sanskrit verses from the introduction that was given by Srila Prabhupada in 1966. We invite you to join us or to carefully listen. Afterwards, we will be reading from chapter 10, text number 11. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Ghorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It should be noted that this reading and discussion has been conducted on a basis of the original 1972 Macmillan edition, the non-adulterated and non-edited version. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. As mentioned earlier, today we will be reading from chapter 10, text number 11. I will be reading one Sanskrit line and you can also repeat afterwards. Tesham eva anukampartam. Tesham eva anukampartam. Aham ajnanajam tamaham. Aham ajnanajam tamaham. Nashayami atma bhavastu. Nashayami atma bhavastu jnana dipena basvata jnana dipena basvata tesham, for them, eva, certainly, anukampa artam, to show special mercy, aham, I, ajnanajam, due to ignorance, tamaha, darkness, nashayami, dispel, atma, within, bhavastaha, themselves, jnana, of knowledge, dipena, with the lamp, bhasvata, glowing. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The modern philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart. Therefore, he is just like the sun that dissipates the darkness of ignorance. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears. and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, for he is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the Gita's teachings. By studying Bhagavad-gītā, one can become a completely surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad-vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yache Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Shat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Everyone try to chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are many important points which are being brought up by Srila Prabhupada in this text here. Very important points. We've had personal experience traveling in India, especially in South India, and meeting with various personalities like impersonalists, especially in travels with Guru Kripa Swami and Achyutananda Swami, Mahamsa Swami. There are many such practitioners in South India who believe that the Vaishnavas are just sentimentalists, that they are not real philosophers. And such statements basically are from a poor fund of knowledge. Anyone who is familiar with the various Vedic controversies, especially between the Mayavadis and the Sri Vaishnavas, and between the Mayavadis and the Madhvas, specifically Madhvacharya, Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Vijayendra Swami, and so many other illustrious preachers of the Madhva Sampradaya will know exactly what Prabhupada is talking about. Prabhupada says, actually, that is not the fact in the first paragraph. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. We see later on in the Bhagavad-gītā in chapter 15, Krishna explains, Mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha, that only from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. We see in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains, Vedeshta sarver ahameva vidyaha, that I am the person that is to be known by the study of the Vedas. In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada was explaining that when Krishna says that I also give forgetfulness, Prabhupada says those who want to forget Krishna, the impersonalist, Krishna gives them the intelligence to interpret one verse this way, interpret another verse that way. In this way, they will never reach Krishna. They will always forget Krishna. But that intelligence to remember a specific pattern, that is given by Krishna. Similarly, for devotees, as we see in this sequence of verse, that mercy is given by Krishna. We saw last Bhagavad-gītā, in text number 10, Krishna explained, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So this is a very important point. If we look at the third paragraph of this verse, Prabhupada explains, a person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instruction so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. Now, this is quite significant because many devotees will bring up the point that, well, I don't know Sanskrit, or I don't know Bengali, or I have not really studied so much. I just want to be a devotee or associate with devotees. That is fine. One sannyasi, during Prabhupada's manifest presence, Sudama Maharaj, one time approached Srila Prabhupada. And he said to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I'm not like many of your other disciples who have more knowledge, who have learned different verses, they've learned some Sanskrit, some Bengali. I just don't know any of that. So what am I supposed to do when I preach? And Prabhupada told him very simply, what you do is you read my books and very simply explain in your own words. That is all. There is no magic here that one has to be a Sanskrit scholar or a Bengali scholar. No, that is not how the process works. The process is to devote oneself. The process is to devote oneself to the process of bhakti. We've often discussed one verse from the Brahma Samhita. Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto that it is very difficult to understand Krishna simply by studying the Vedas. But if one becomes Atma Bhakto or confidential devotee, Adurlabham. All of you are also familiar with the Bhagavad-gītā in chapter 7, text number 19, where Krishna explains how does one come to that understanding that Krishna is everything, Vasudeva is everything. This is a very important verse. Very important verse. So Prabhupada explained in the text, it says, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Prabhupada explains, the living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. Now, this is not so easy to achieve. This understanding that Krishna is everything and that one is eternal of Krishna comes by the mercy of the pure devotee, by the mercy of the spiritual master. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. That by the mercy of the spiritual master, one obtains the mercy of Krishna. What is that mercy? Is that very, very precious understanding that Krishna is everything and one should engage in his service without personal motivation. Now, this is a very important point because recently we've been discussing in some of our other readings and discussions on Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that there are many persons who take up to this process of bhakti, but unfortunately they get distracted. They get sidelines. Sidelined by what? Profit, adoration, and distinction. This is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 19, in Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami. What is the process of bhakti? What is the system of reviving that love of God and coming to the correct understanding and the proper process? In other words, not just a mental exercise or some intellectual adjustment, but one has to receive that mercy. Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagyavan Jeev Krishna Guru Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. That seed of bhakti is given by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna. There are so many instructions by Srila Prabhupada concerning the process, because many times devotees will ask, well, why is it that so many devotees, even many devotees who did good service to the mission of Srila Prabhupada, and many devotees who seem to have been very advanced and experienced, that they're experiencing so many problems? And we see this on a regular basis. Now, there are plenty of instructions from Srila Prabhupada with regards to the process. The whole process of bhakti is summarized by Srila Prabhupada many times by quoting that verse from Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sango, Ata Bhajana Kriya, Ata Anartha Nivriti Syat. There's a very systematic process of reviving that love of Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Nakara Uday. That this love of Krishna is naturally there with every living being, especially human being. And it's not artificially revived. It is only revived Shravanadi. Shravanadi means Shravan Adi. By hearing the message and the transcendental literatures related to Krishna. Hearing about Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's names, Krishna's incarnations, Krishna's wonderful transcendental person. This is a very important point because we see when we have discussions with other practitioners of other religious sects or other denominations, if you ask them the question, who is the Father, who is God, what does he do, where does he live, what does he look like, what are his qualities, they cannot answer. They will give you some sentimental reply, but no clear explanation. But Prabhupada is giving the explanation. Prabhupada used to often say that before he came to the Western countries, no one had become a devotee of Krishna. Some other persons had come to America in the late 1890s in Chicago, some impersonalist Swami, but they did not accomplish anything. They did not make any practicing devotees of Krishna. And Prabhupada used to often say, because he presented the message as it is, without distortion, without change, it has become successful. So this is a very important point because many times devotees see there are so many different views or so many different understandings with regards to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and its application. Now, Srila Prabhupada one time was seen by one of his personal servants reading his book, The Nectar of Devotion. So the devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, why are you reading your own book? And Prabhupada's reply says, well, it's not simply my book. This is Krishna's book. Krishna has written this book. Prabhupada viewed himself as a conduit. He was an empowered transcendentalist, a Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated soul, who came to deliver the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But it's very important that we see that there are many persons who take up to the process of devotional service, who take up to the process of bhakti, but gradually, even persons who became disciples and initiated by Srila Prabhupada, but gradually slipped away from the process. They started to neglect Prabhupada's instruction not to go beyond his books, not to go beyond his instructions. And what happened is such persons, although they are devotees, we don't deny that they are not Vaishnavas, because they do not follow the path chalked by the great Acharya Srila Prabhupada, they become stunted in their advancement. we have to remember that Krishna consciousness is not just an intellectual academic process. This is a very important point. Some devotees have misunderstanding regarding the process of bhakti. They think they can go shopping. Like if you are looking for apples, if you're looking for different kind of fruits, there are many different places where they sell fruits of different varieties, different qualities, different prices. Just like in Ontario, at Canada, at this time of the year, they have many different kinds of apples available. Some for different prices, some of different qualities, some of different, color, all different kinds. So one has to learn to discriminate. Prabhupada used to say that to learn how to choose and accept a spiritual master or guru. Prabhupada used to compare it just like if you go buy gold, but if you do not know what is gold or how to test for gold, you might be cheated. Just like in India, if you go to buy some gold ornaments for your wife, the gold shop has a certain way of testing whether or not the gold is 24 karat gold, 22 karat gold, 18 karat gold, 14 karat gold, or some brass with gold paint on it. They have a way. They have a black stone and some little chemical that they put, and they're able to tell. Similarly, one has to learn the characteristics of a bona fide spiritual master. This is all explained by Prabhupada in his books, because this is very important. In other words, there are many persons, either out of sentiment, out of emotion, or sometimes out of a poor fund of knowledge, who do not properly understand the philosophy. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Prabhupada was discussing an incident that took place at Kaliya Lake near the Yamuna. And in one purport, this is one, as Prabhupada explains, one has to be very careful to be enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master. Otherwise, even though one may be constantly with the spiritual master, he may not understand. Prabhupada has written these books. These are not just decorations on the shelf. Of course, even if one keeps the books on the shelf, that's also beneficial. But one will get more benefit, the ultimate benefit, if one follows the instruction. Just like we have one of our good friends, Dr. Ram Raghava. He's a physician, a licensed physician. So by law, he is authorized to give prescription. After discussing with a patient, sometimes they will run some tests, and he will give some prescription for some medication. Now, if the patient follows the instruction, he will be cured, he will get benefit. But if the patient concocts his own idea, he's thinking, well, I'm supposed to take this medication for 10 days. I feel good after 3 days. Let's do away with the medication. That's likely to have an adverse effect. Similarly, the transcendental physician, Srila Prabhupada, gives so many instructions. It's up to us as patients, as students and followers, to follow this instruction, and then one can advance nicely, safely. Otherwise, there's every possibility of problems. Every possibility of problems. This has been seen many times. Even though one may have received the mercy of Srila Prabhupada or spiritual master, one has to be careful to practice properly, not to change the instruction, not to deviate from the instruction. Just like the patient, the good patient is supposed to follow the instruction of the physician, not concoct his own way of administering the medicine. That's likely to cause trouble. So thank you very much. We will open the discussion. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol, glories to Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your explanation of today's key verse from the Bhagavad-gītā. Tesham evanu kampartam aham agyana jantamaha nasiyam yatma bhavasto gyani dipena bhashvata. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So self-realization is a secret. And these verses from the Bhagavad-gītā and Prabhupada's purports reveal the process of devotional service properly to the aspiring student of Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness is a process, a very sophisticated, simple but sophisticated process. Just like in the material world, in order for the car to run, there is a combination of many elements in its operation. And when they are perfectly assembled and maintained, the car works. So Prabhupada guides us in this process given to us from Krishna in his Bhagavad-gītā through his elaborate purports. These purports were specifically for his disciples. Of course, other people can read them. Prabhupada says in the lectures that he gives recently that I was listening to, one has to be very serious, Prabhupada told the crowd. They have to be very eager to learn this philosophy. It's not whimsical. We have one of our members here. He's an engineer. And he became an engineer because he was serious about studying engineering. And in this way, he was able to get his degree and be recognized as qualified in that field. He was serious. He had to spend thousands of hours studying the books in order to get this degree. So like that, if you want to be a Krishna conscious devotee in high esteem, you have to understand this philosophy by careful study of Prabhupada's books and his purports. As I was mentioning, these purports are specifically for his disciples to help us understand the path of spiritual emancipation. And when I speak about disciple, I mean not only the people that were personally initiated by Prabhupada, but also the process of initiation that he introduced for us to all of us when we were with him back in the early years of this movement. When Prabhupada accepted a person as his disciple, he did it under the recommendation of the temple president. That was the system. And they were specifically deputed to give that endorsement. And Prabhupada would accept. He made ask the question, do they chant their rounds? Do they follow the four regulated principles? Are they surrendered to the process of Krishna consciousness? Do they engage in devotional service wholeheartedly? Are they doing it for a minimum of 6 months? And in the case of Brahminical initiation, it was a year and a half of commitment by the individual to this process that he outlined for all of us. And then through the recommendation of the temple president, then Prabhupada would accept that person as his disciple. So we're using that same system, exactly the same system. And we understand that Prabhupada is still with us in his Vani incarnation. Yet he lives forever in his books, and his followers live with him. This is a spiritual movement. This is not mundane yoga, where you do exercises and asanas and pranayamas, and you think, oh, I'm going to make advancement by chanting the sacred syllable Om. No. This is not recommended by Lord Chaitanya. This is not recommended by our disciplic succession, and it is not recommended by our guru, Srila Prabhupada. So this is the process by which one can become a Prabhupada disciple. But first they have to be eager to really, really make advancement in spiritual life by taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, Guru Shastra Sadhu, taking shelter of the Guru, of his scriptures, and his disciples. That is the system. Unchanged, never to be changed. And this is very critical. I thought there was a nice question there from one of our members, and we'll discuss it after in our review of the class with our other members. The ultimate goal, Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad-gītā here, in his purport, that Krishna consciousness, we know this is a mystery to the conditioned soul. And here in the middle of the purport, the ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation. Very critical aspect of the verse. And not by mental speculation or argument. He is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the Gita's teachings. By studying Bhagavad-gītā, one can become a completely surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So your advancement comes through the practice of this process, and there's a magic in it. There is. It's like anything that you do in life. If you practice it constantly, somehow or other, you start to begin to understand it. It comes by the mercy of the Lord if you practice this chanting every day. That's why we recommend for those people who are serious about this process, serious about their own spiritual emancipation, that they chant 16 rounds a day without fail. Because this process includes, along with hearing, the chanting of the holy names, which is fundamentally the basis of this process. It is it. There's no difference between Krishna in his name and his form. And when one chants that, he is blessed by the presence of the Lord on the tip of his tongue. It's not an option. Someone said to us, well, you sound like you're running a boot camp. Excuse me? When you become a Prabhupada disciple, you make an oath of commitment. It was very serious. It's just like a marriage. You know, an oath in marriage is also a serious commitment. Of course, it's very difficult to stay married in this modern age for whatever reasons. But this commitment to the spiritual master is a lot more important to the spiritual development of an individual. And so part of the ceremony, when you do the fire sacrifice, in front of the fire, in front of the devotees, in front of Krishna, in front of the Guru, you commit to chanting 16 rounds. And Prabhupada would ask us too when we came before him. I was initiated in Detroit in 1971. Prabhupada asked me to come up. They called out my name, Bobby Hebert. I was like, oh, I was so shocked. I had no idea. I almost fell over. So I walked up, Prabhupada said, what are the 4 regulated principles? And I mentioned 2, no illicit sex life and no meat eating. He said, that's enough. He didn't even let me finish. And he reminded me to chant 16 rounds a day. And in this way, you could get the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master by adherence to these commitments. We've designed an oath of allegiance that we're going to be releasing soon. Very interesting. To help all of us in our group understand what we're doing as a group to propagate the Sankirtan movement according to Prabhupada's instructions. Not concoction, not mental speculation, not the guru business, which is going on. So we'll leave it at that. We'll ask Yaśodā-nandana to continue on with a further insight, and then we'll open the floor with our God brothers and questions and answers. Yaśodā.
Well, thank you very much for this explanation. One topic which has been brought up to our attention is the topic of why is it that we spend so much time discussing issues which have taken place in a movement sometimes way in the past and sometimes not too far in the past, when it would be so much better used to discuss just Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, some nectar things. Well, this is a very important point because we see that Prabhupada has given many instructions in his books with regard of how to properly understand the philosophy. Just like in one of our recent classes, we were discussing the issue that everything belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to God. Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 8, Chapter 1, text number 10. Canto 8, Chapter 1, text number 10. In the purport, Prabhupada says, since all property belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything should be offered to the Lord, and we should take only prasada. Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. We should not fight amongst ourselves to take more than we need. As Narada said to Maharaj Yudhishthira, Yavad briyata jataram, tavat svatam hidehinam, adhikam yobhyamanyeta, sasteno dandam harhati. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain body and soul together. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature, from Srimad Bhagavatam 7, 14:8. Of course, we need to be maintained in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, ahar nirada bhaya maituna, But since the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, has provided these necessities of life for the birds and bees, why not for mankind? There is no need for economic development. Everything is provided. Therefore, one should understand that everything belongs to Krishna. And with this idea, one may take prasada. However, if one interferes with the allotments of others, he is a thief. We should not accept more than we actually need. Therefore, if by chance we get an abundance of money, we should always consider that it belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, we are getting sufficient money, but we should never think that the money belongs to us. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be equally distributed to the workers, the devotees. I'm going to repeat this sentence here. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be equally distributed to the workers, the devotees. No devotee should claim that any money or property belongs to him. If one thinks that any portion of property of this huge universe belongs to anyone, is to be considered a thief and is punishable by the laws of nature. Devi Hiesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya, Bhagavad-gītā 7:14. No one can surpass the vigilance of material nature or hide his intentions from material nature. If human society unlawfully claims that the property of the universe, either partially or wholly, belongs to mankind, all of human society will be cursed as a society of thieves and will be punished by the laws of nature. Now, this is a very important point because, as we discussed before, Srila Prabhupada many times discussed how devotees should deal with money or the assets and everything. One issue came up recently. Well, what happened if somebody gives a donation to the spiritual organization, but what happened if the money is misused? There's an important conversation where Prabhupada discusses this. This is in Mayapur in March 14th, 1976. Mayapur, March 14, 1976. Achyutananda, if a man says, I'm giving you this donation because it is a spiritual organization, but if the money is misused, does that man benefit? Prabhupada, if money is misused, then both of them become implicated. If it is not used for Krishna, then both of them becomes under the laws of karma. Achyutananda, but that man is sincere. Prabhupada, well, this word sincere, there's no meaning unless he's a devotee. Ibala imanda sab manu dharma. These are all mental concoction. There is no meaning. This man is good, this man is sincere, this man is bad, this man is... They're all mental concoction. Only good is he who is Krishna consciousness. Others, all rascals. Now, this is an important point because we see practically how many persons use this position of being a devotee or the renounced order of life, and basically they do this, accumulate money, live lavishly, have a jet set lifestyle, and many times children are neglected, women are exploited, devotees are kicked out, and we are being told, oh, don't criticize, don't speak so much, don't do. So it's important to note, it's important to understand Prabhupada's instruction regarding this, because everybody on this call, everybody deals with money and assets. How to utilize it for Krishna, what should be the proper mindset, this is important. Another point, this is a conversation with Srila Prabhupada that occurred in Hawaii in 1975. Oh, I don't have the date. But anyway, Prabhupada is discussing Jayatirtha, yesterday Nitai found a quote from the Puranas that says there are many gurus who will take money, take away your money, but rare is one who will take away your miseries. Prabhupada, Guravo Bahava Shanti Vitta Pahara Kaha. Nitai, yes, right. Prabhupada, Guravo Bahava Shanti Vitta Pahara Kaha. Tam tu Gurum Napashyami Shishya Shanta Pahara Kaha. There are many gurus. They are very expert in plundering disciples' money. But it is very difficult to find out the guru who can take out all the anxieties of the disciple. Shishya Shanta Paharakaha. Guru is meant for taking away the Shantapa. Samsaradava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karunya Ganaganatvam. The Shishya will be peaceful. Objective of life. That is the business of Guru, not to take away his money. So this is an important point to remember, because many persons become bewildered. They become confused as to what is the proper behavior of a guru. Prabhupada is nicely explained here. Hare Krishna.
Yes, and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I wanted to further comment that listening to the lecture recently of Srila Prabhupada in my car, he was saying that the guru, this bona fide spiritual master, everything he says is scripture. That's a very important point to understand. So if we as a group are analyzing what Prabhupada says for the benefit of our membership and ourselves, this is also a discussion of scripture. Like, for example, you could say, well, let's talk about the rasa dance, for example, which is also scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. So that some people may do that, but we, at this stage of our devotional service, are interested in understanding how to apply ourselves to this process, how to get the benefit that is being described today in this verse, that I, dwelling within the heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge. Paramatma, Krishna is within the heart. He will reveal himself to the devotee who practically applies himself to this process according, Vijaya Pandit, to Prabhupada's instructions, which is non-different than Krishna. Non-different, the transparent via media of the spiritual master's words are the way by which we get out of this entanglement in the material world, which we're all stuck in. We have with us our good friend in Dallas, Texas, Dharma Bhavana, who's also a preacher and a devotee of Srila Prabhupada's, a disciple. And we'd like him to share his realizations on today's verse. Dharma Bhavana in Texas. I hope he's there.
He's not.
I hear him.
He's not there.
Pardon? He's not there. Vijaya Pandit, maybe you could share your realizations from Italy on today's discussion.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Haribol. Yes, we can.
Haribol.
Thank you.
Well, to follow the instruction of the Guru, if you accept Srila Prabhupada as your Guru, it's an eternal teaching every day for me, for us. Every day we have to learn new things and go forward with this and make this our life. For me, it's like this. I try to put forward his instructions and going out to distribute books, giving prasadam, taking care of my family, of my land, of our land. And all this, I try to serve Srila Prabhupada and the mission with the things I have. Everything belongs to Krishna. And I'm conscious about this. Everything, nothing belongs to me. Even the money I collect during the Sankirtan in these days, 15 days traveling Sankirtan, I distribute a lot of books, and all the money I got is Krishna's money. I hope he will help me to use it nicely for the forward preaching in this. So my realization is that I have to go forward like this in my life. There is no other way. If I want to advance in spiritual life and have a very good friendship with all other devotees, especially with all of you, I have to put Srila Prabhupada first and serve him as he wants, as he wish. And to understand how he wish, I have to study his books. I have to associate with the devotees and learn how they teach us, and learn how they had their experience with Srila Prabhupada. By this, in this way, I can advance. And Krishna is helping every day. Everybody knows who's going out to distribute books. We are in the forest. We are ringing the bells in the skyscrapers, and there are 20, 40 families in the skyscrapers, sometimes only 6. So you have to abandon, you have to surrender yourself completely to Krishna. Otherwise, Maya will kick you the steps down, because you can't control nothing. So you have to surrender. You have to surrender to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. In this way, you can give effort to your... in this way, you can give books. You can give... you can make your life successful. I'm not good in English. I'm sorry, Prabhu. Sorry.
I think we understand what you're saying, and thank you very much
Maybe you understand.
for sharing your information. Venkat Bhatta in South India. I see that we have a couple of interesting quotes on our chat, one from Jeff, Dr. Jeff, and Chaitanya Gadgil. Maybe you could read those for everyone to hear this morning at this class.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So Jeff says, Sriman Krishna Paramatma is speaking through Srila Prabhupada, which we are hearing and receiving through transcendental means, filling our reservoir, Jivatma. And then
Thank you. Yes. Go ahead.
Chaitanya Gadgil Prabhu, he says, if we take it that here is an institution where we can have free hotel, free living, and free sense gratification, then the whole institution will be spoiled. Be careful. All the GBCs, they should be careful that this mentality may not increase. This is from a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, March 2nd, 1976.
Yes, very interesting. It's very... we understand one thing, that when you take sannyas, it means you're materially dead. You have no connection with the material world. And so the role of the sannyasi is to practically demonstrate to other people through his practice. For example, Venkat Bhatta, the 6 Goswamis, who are the prime example of sannyas, would live under a tree, a different tree every night. Can you imagine? Can you imagine just living under a tree, not having any kitchen or stock of food, just depending solely on Krishna's mercy, and being confident that Krishna would provide you with the necessities of life by the mercy of the Lord? So when you hear these examples in the Shastras, Venkat Bhatta, and then you see what's going on in the modern mission that Srila Prabhupada formed, it does bring up some question of doubt, wouldn't you say? What is your point of view, Venkapata, on this subject?
Yeah, definitely. We can clearly see that they're not following Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Yeah, it's true.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else you'd like to share with us before we move into the kirtan? We're almost at the end of the discussion today. It's 11:30. We've got a few minutes. Anything else, Venkat? Any other information you want to share with our group?
No, today's purport was very striking because it mentions that we don't have to endeavor to become scholars or philosophers, through mental speculation like that. If we just pursue devotional service, automatically we'll get the knowledge you'll get all kinds of knowledge. And also it's mentioned elsewhere in Bhagavad-gītā, in the chapter Modes of Material Nature, that mode of goodness, gives rise to knowledge. And I think mode of passion gives rise to grief, and mode of ignorance to illusion and madness, like that. So yeah, it makes sense. So and also the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his spiritual master was, I think he was like illiterate, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. He couldn't read or write, if I remember correctly, but still he was like the most exalted Vaishnava, and he was the spiritual master of one of the most scholarly persons, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yes, that's pretty much what I had to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to end off by quoting Prabhupada. He was saying that his spiritual masters used to tell him, don't try to see Krishna. Do not try to see Krishna, but try to act in such a way that Krishna will see you. So this is the mystery of Krishna consciousness. How to bring about the attraction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to this insignificant speck in the universe. Speck. 1/10,000th the tip of a hair size, Vijaya Pandit. That's how big we are. We're insignificant in this universe. Out of billions of universes, the understanding of Krishna is not easy to achieve, but by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who appeared 500 years ago, our disciplic succession coming down through Bhaktisiddhanta to our beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada makes everything possible for every person that's attending this process or practicing Krishna consciousness according to Prabhupada's instructions. So we can all celebrate that and look forward to a wonderful life of success in spiritual practice through the adherence to the principles of Guru Tattva as given by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's move forward with a kirtan from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And thank you very much. We'll answer your questions tomorrow. The Prabhus that have their questions, please bring them tomorrow to the class, and we'll be happy to deal with them and move forward with our understanding of this wonderful philosophy.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurabhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare
I wanted to point out that one devotee, Bhaktin Patricia, brought up a question, says, Prabhu, does this mean that if a devotee from other groups and who are not initiated by a bona fide guru, if they are devoted to Lord Krishna sincerely, they can still advance? Well, advancement is usually up to Krishna and the spiritual master. If one is not initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, it becomes a little difficult or very difficult to make spiritual advancement. That is the first point of making spiritual advancement, to be initiated by an authorized, bona fide, proper spiritual master. This is not something that we say. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. For example, in 1974 in one letter to one Rupanuga Das, a senior member of ISKCON. Prabhupada pointed out with regard to many of his contemporaries, he says, none of our godbrothers are qualified for becoming Acharya because of their disobedience of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's instruction. Prabhupada gave that stark judgment. So one has to use his intelligence. If he's fortunate, whether man or woman has got nothing to do with it. One has to use his intelligence, his God-given intelligence, to correctly ascertain and find out Srila Prabhupada's instructions and statements on these issues. This is very important. Then it's very, of course, Krishna can give his mercy to anybody under any circumstance. That's there. But the normal process, the standard process, is to follow the proper practice. Prabhupada is a bona fide Acharya, is available now, and one should simply follow his instruction, connect with Srila Prabhupada, follow his instruction, become his student, become his follower, become his disciple, following the discipline and the rules and regulations which he has given, and associate with him by hearing his books. Just like we heard that verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shravanadi Sudachite Karavidai. This love of Krishna is developed by hearing. The beginning is not an artificial process. It is not a mechanical process. It is a hearing process from proper bona fide authority. Otherwise, one can be misled thinking that he's making advancement. Instead, he may be a sahaja or a sentimentalist. So this is the point, that we have to devote our energy to hear about Krishna from the bona fide spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. What do you think, Vishwa?
Very well explained. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for being a part of our group. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at our Srimad Bhagavatam class, which will be held at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada. So mark your calendars for that. And let's carry forward with this 4.5 hours of transcendental association each week for all of us. And then our devotional service throughout the rest of the week. Let's pray to Krishna that we get the opportunity and the facility to present this philosophy to other people, as many people as possible in our daily activities. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.